The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host. I've got my teammates with me tonight. I've got Jenna Grover.
Hello, everyone. I made it by the tail of my you-know-what.
Her tail feathers are here. All right.
They are. I did it.
And we've got Tammy Trickle.
Hey, everybody, missed you.
We have missed everybody. I'm sorry we've been gone for so long. We went on expedition for a large part of June, and then we just kept doing our thing. And here we're back. We had lots of fun things happen. Bigfoot did not kidnap us, although it was close. It was very close. It was
Yes. And I have officially moved to Texas. I'm a Texan.
Yeah. Okay.
Jen's crying and Tammy's clapping.
Amen.
I was like, Jenna, let's go do something today. Oh, wait, Jenna's not here. So, yeah, anyway, we're back, everybody. We had a great time on expedition. Lots of cool things happened. Of course, we were with the film crew, Jason Kenzie, and everything will be in new documentaries coming out, hopefully this year, I hope.
Good stuff. It might not be till like January, but yeah, we got some good stuff coming.
We did.
Oh,
And,
yes.
you know,
Yes.
our agreement with him and the whole crew is that we don't share our evidence that we collected on expedition when we're filming for documentaries, so that everybody can enjoy the documentaries when they come out and see it all fresh for the first time. So I can just tell you that lots of really cool things happened, and yeah, you might be like, gasp.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of kind of a little bit more of an exaggeration. But next time I see something scary, I think I will gasp just because of that, Jen.
Well, Sherry did capture those thermal.
No, but I mean the word gasp. Like next time I'm like scared, I'm gonna go gasp. And then you can really say that about me.
I did that for the benefit of all those who are audio only listening to us.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, so we've got a fun show for you tonight. We have a really cool guest. His name is Phillip Neal, and he's joining us right now. So hi, Phillip. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, like if you want to tell what part of the world you live in, and how you got interested in Bigfoot and cryptids, things like that.
Well, I live in eastern Iowa, and I've been head first in the subject since '92. I guess to start my story, back in Thanksgiving Day in '92, here it was an exceptionally warm day, sunny, not a cloud in the sky, no wind, just a beautiful day. And back then, I was really big. I used to bodybuild, so I was absolutely huge. So for me to eat was super fast. So it was my sister, her boyfriend, my grandparents, and my mom and dad all at the table, and myself. And I ate right away. And I got up and walked to the back of the house. And looking straight out the back, at that time it used to be a horse field. Now it's all grown in with trees and everything. And then to the window facing south would have been looking at the barn, and down towards the lower bottom, 75 acres was below the house. And I got done eating early that day, and I walked out back. I looked out the patio door windows and Back then there was no deck; it was just the doors and the windows. Just looking at how nice it was, and then I looked out the window towards the barn, and it's crazy as I believed, but that day made me a true believer. For as nice as a day as it was, I'm looking out the window, and I can honestly say for me, I wasn't small. I mean, I'm 5'8", but I had a 580-pound bench press. I mean, I was huge. I bodybuilded for 9 years, so I was pretty big. But to see this thing walking in the broad daylight with the sun beating down on it made me feel like an ant. It was just massive. And what was crazy is you could literally see its muscles bulge as it was walking. It didn't look back. I mean, I didn't knock on the window or anything. I just sat and stared at it. And my sister's boyfriend was a hunter. Yes, but what's weird is instead of calling my dad and him back to look at this thing, I felt like if I would have yelled, I would have alerted it and it would have just been gone. So I just sat and stared at this thing for, I don't know, almost 7 or 8 minutes as it walked out of sight. But it just blew my mind how big this thing was. I mean, it just made me feel so small. It was just huge. I'm thinking it was roughly between 8.5, 9 feet tall, and just huge. And ever since then, I've been headfirst into research, going out into the woods and trying to find as much as I possibly can ever since then.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you think that it knew you were there, whatever it was?
I don't know, because it never ever looked back, ever. It just kept looking forward, and it's kind of a downward slope to the bottom lower half, and it just kept walking. It never
Hmm.
it never looked around. It's weird. It just looked forward, like as if you or I were walking, and just looking in the direction we were walking. It's
Well,
like it had no care about anything. So
what thing, like, if you could mention two things about it, what are your, like, the two most specific details you remember
the
as far as how it
muscle
looks?
the muscularity was massive, and the color. I mean, it was jet black. Those are the two distinct things I remember: is how muscular and how black it was. I mean, the hair was just as black could be, and it wasn't long either. I mean, I've seen them before where hair was anywhere between 3.5, 4 inches, but this hair
Hmm.
seemed really, really short. I mean, really short, like maybe only an inch and a half, 2 inches. Just seems short.
Was
And
it
a lot.
a hot time of the year?
Well, it was November, it's Thanksgiving, and that's normally not a hot time of the year,
Right.
but that particular year, it was warmer that November, and I want to say that day must have been around 65 degrees, so it wasn't cold at all.
Hmm.
I just wondered if maybe they grow a longer winter coat or and a shorter one in the summer.
Right.
That was just an idea that popped in my head when he said it was so short.
That's always been a thought of mine, but seeing them as often as I have in different times of the year, I really feel it just depends on the way they are, kind of like the way we are. Some people are bald, some people aren't. Some women have long hair, some women have short hair. I mean, it's just, I know we cut our hair, but it's just everybody's different.
Mhm.
And with them, I think that's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's an individual thing whether they have long or short hair. Is what I mean. I've seen them in middle and end of December, uh, with snow on the ground, and maybe it's thicker, but it's still the same length. You know, I've seen black
Hmm.
ones around with same length, but I'm assuming thicker. For winter.
Right.
Mhm.
But another thing, I know people argue with me, but where I'm at, there's caves everywhere, everywhere. And I've been in a lot of caves. I used to go spelunking all the time. And it doesn't matter if you're in there in the summer or you're in there in the winter. You're in there deep enough, the temperature is 50 degrees year round. It
Oh,
never changes. So
and it's safe back there?
in those caves,
Yeah.
um, as long as there's no like water seepage for flooding or anything, yeah, you could live
Oh,
in a cave.
I thought you were going to say, as long as there's no police that catch you. I was like, oh,
I'd be more worried about the animals than the police.
yeah, that's true.
Right. Well, some of these caves that I'm aware of that I feel there's a possibility of them living there, finding that entrance is almost impossible for anybody unless you truly know.
Hmm.
So, yeah, as far as the police go, I don't think they'd find you.
I don't think so either.
They're not looking for the caves.
No.
Do you think
Now they're going to
people
go.
do you think
Hmm?
people ever live in the caves? Like,
They used to.
well, I know
Hey,
they used to, but
Yeah.
like now, like vagrants
so
or
so the history of things around here. So say if I go back 3,500, 4,000 years ago, um, long before we were ever here, it was a huge Native American area around here, and caves were more frequently used back then. I just heard something again. Not so much now. I mean, obviously we all have houses and everything else. So I think if anything, people, if they come across the cave, they might just go in there to explore. But I don't think anybody lives in there. And I don't know if they'd want to live in there because if these things are in there, I don't think they're going to be too happy if somebody tries to
right?
claim a dwelling.
I'd explore it.
I'm with you, Tammy. So be behind you.
Behind me.
Yes.
She feels safe doing that because Tammy's our security. And
Actually, the person in the rear end has to take the back. So the front
That's the
person has to take.
yeah, you don't want to be.
Yes. The
Yeah.
one behind
I'll
has
be.
to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll take the back. I can pay attention sometimes.
I'm usually
Look,
the
a
slowest
squirrel.
one. I'm usually the slowest one, so I'm the back. Usually.
But if it's a group and we're waiting for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You just said it.
Not on a reservation, though.
No, no, you're right.
Oh gosh.
there's a location here. Back in the early 1800s, used to be a railroad, and it's not a railroad. I don't think it's been a railroad since maybe 1820, maybe
Oh
even earlier than
wow.
that. Um, but now it's a trail, and there's still lots of caves in this area, and from from a certain point on down to the Mississippi River, it's extremely active. And so this particular event I'm talking about, there's a friend of mine that I used to go out with all the time. Life just kind of separated us because we're always busy. But he was he's a massive hunter, so he's one of those guys that obviously carried a pistol all the time. I don't take pistols when I go out because I don't feel I need them. Um, but in his mind, he always thought if one of these things were to confront him, he'd just be able to shoot it and be done.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him that, you know, you shoot one, what about the other three or four that are sitting around?
Right?
I said
And
that's a proven fact that they do that. They don't just sit in one. I call them watchers at night, and there's always three or four, and maybe even a fifth one farther down to keep an eye and make their calls or knocks or whatever they need to do. So I told him, I said, it's not like they're going to exactly run straight down the trail at you and attack you. I said, they're going to be just outside the edge of this trail where you can't see past 2 feet past the edge of this trail. I said, and all they got to do is reach out and grab you, and you're gone. And he thought I was crazy. Well, this particular night, where we caught sight of 2 sets of eyes farther down in this field, and eventually it just backed off and walked. Apparently, they just walked away. So we turned around. Well, I told him, I said, I hear something. I said, and it's really, really close because my hearing is exceptionally well.
Beautiful.
And he thought I was crazy. Well, we maybe took 4 or 5 steps, and here there was a tree facing the direction that we started walking, and there was a branch literally 2 feet off the trail. There was no breeze, no nothing. It was a beautiful, calm night. No moon, but a beautiful, calm night. And this branch was just swaying like something grabbed it and pulled it back, and it was just moving. And he said, well, what do you think did that? And I said, well, it wasn't a raccoon, because if a raccoon would have been out on this limb, it would either snapped the limb or it would have fell off, because it would have went down. It wasn't strong enough to hold a raccoon or anything. So what do you think it was? I said, well, I can't tell you what it was, but it may have been one of them standing here watching. I said, because I heard it. Well, then we started walking, and he was looking off to the right, and I was looking to the left. Because we always look for eye shine. And we got maybe another 10 yards from where this tree was, and he yelled at me and said, I got eye shine. So I'm hearing whoops.
So what we didn't say on the air was that Phillip is with us live from outside right now in an area where he often has encounters and experiences. So when he pauses because he's hearing something, we might get to hear it too.
Right.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing?
I just heard it far in the distance. But anyway, so I turned back around and met him, and I said, where? And he pointed it, and I looked and I said, that's one of them. And he said, are you sure? I said, oh, I'm 100% positive. And if you think I'm lying or crazy, then admit me right now, because it's one of them. And he said, well, I want to run across the ditch and go take a look at it. Okay, go for it. And I think we're only maybe 10 yards away. Well, he started walking through the ditch, and it stood up. And I said, holy shit, Carl. He's like, what? Sorry, no swearing. I said, Carl, I said, it stood up. And I said, it's about 8.5 feet tall, somewhere between 8 and 9. So he legitimately got scared, and he turned around and he did a grunt and started running out back onto the trail. Now, what's crazy is this grunt that he did as I'm watching this thing, it just blew my mind to see the reaction of what I saw. And when he grunted, I was literally looking right at it. And it flinched. It like jerked its head and flinched its eyes when he grunted. And I was like, wow, I never imagined seeing something like that. And that right there tells you a lot about something when you see a flinch. That's very much a human nature right there. So it wasn't looking to do anything harmful at all. It was just wanting to watch us, what we were doing. Well, it stood there in that position for maybe 7 or 8 minutes. And needless to say, I'm fighting my friend, he's like, let's take the light off it. Let's take the light off it. Why do you want to take the light off it? Once you take the light off, it's going to disappear. Well, let's see what happens. I said, no, I'm not taking it. And I literally had to push him off to keep my light on him. And I kept the light on it, and it just kept looking at us. It kept kind of bobbing its head because it was kind of confused as to what we were doing. And then all of a sudden, looking at it, it stepped to my right behind a bunch of like high standing bushes, like a large shrub. And then it kind of peered around the side, kept looking and kept looking. Well, I knew it was there, and I kept my light on it. Well, then it finally stepped back around, and this tree that it stepped next to, I noticed that as it went up, it had a curve and then went higher. And its head was right at that curve. Well, then finally it just stepped back and stepped back and stepped back into where it just disappeared. And this was probably about 12, 13 minutes, in that time frame. All this happened until it just disappeared. And my friend was like, I can't believe that thing could have grabbed me, because that tree that was swinging. I said, I told you. I said, you keep thinking these things are going to walk down just the trail right directly at you. And you think you're just going to pull your gun and shoot them. I said, no. I said, they're going to stand behind something literally 2 feet from you when you're walking. And if they want you, they'll just grab you and take you. It doesn't matter. You don't have time to pull your gun. And even if you do pull your gun, maybe you get one shot fired. And if you get one shot fired, then you're really going to piss it off. And I wouldn't even want to see what's going to happen. So he was kind of really freaked out. But that night really blew my, I mean, as far as physically seeing one face to face, I've seen it before, but this was the closest I've ever been to actually see one. And just, it's weird when you're looking at them. There again, the shoulders every bit of 4 feet wide. Just how massive these things are. And as it steps, it's you don't realize how far that step is until you're actually in front of it, seeing how far their gait is. And that had every bit of a 4.5, 5 foot gate between steps. And it just blew my mind. Within 3 steps, it went from here to there.
What was the gate?
Every bit of 4.5, 5 feet.
Wow.
Oh, it was massive. Yeah. I went down the next day with a friend because I wasn't sure if I was going to be there or not, to that same location. And I had a tape measure just because. And I measured that bend in the tree where I saw its head, where the top of its head was. That was just over 8.5 feet tall.
Nice.
Maybe 2 inches higher than 8.5. And that's how tall that thing was. It was just massive. Well, then we could see at this point of the time, the rain was very minimal, so the ground was extremely hard. But you could see everything that it stepped on, like all the weeds, so you could see its depression from the weeds. And that's where I determined that its step was between 4.5, 5 feet in its gait for how far it in between steps. But even stepping sideways, the distance between the tree where he was originally at to that shrub that he stepped behind was maybe right around 12, 13 feet. And in 3 easy steps, he was behind that sideways. That's massive. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
But it's weird. So I guess one thing to understand about me, most people don't realize, is that I don't truly know why. Maybe it's because of the way I was brought up, but I literally have no fear. None.
Wow.
And if you ask a lot of people that know me, they'll tell you I have zero fear. I don't know if it's because when I was younger, I used to ride bulls, I used to ride bronc at rodeo, and I've dealt with animals growing up. So I don't know if that's why I don't have fear, but I literally have no fear. I'm head in when I go out for these things.
I guess I feel fear when it happens. If something happens and I get scared, but I don't let anything like that stop me from doing something.
Right.
Sounds like you're the same. Yeah.
Well, so
or you just no fear at all.
In this same location, I used to call this certain area where you park, just down from where you park, I used to call it their front door. But I don't think that's the case anymore, because it used to be power lines that ran across the way. the high lines, and I used to call that their front door, because after you went past them power lines, everything started to happen. Well, now, from literally where you park, and as soon as you start walking, things start happening. And the one night I had my friend Lou, maybe it was my friend Lou and another friend from Detroit. We were walking along, and the creek is right next to the trail. We had 27 rocks thrown into the creek from the point of us leaving our vehicles to where we got down just past the bridge that you got to walk across to keep going down the trail, which is maybe 3/4 of a mile. So that's a lot of rocks thrown. And one of those rocks is, as you're walking down this trail, there's a cliff to your left. And that cliff is roughly 150 feet up, straight up. You're not walking that cliff. You're not climbing that cliff. On top, there's trees. And I just happened to be at that bridge when a rock was thrown up over those trees and literally landed at that creek and rolled into the creek as we were standing there. I just happened to be looking at the right place at the right time, I guess. But yeah, that was crazy. But that stuff doesn't ever scare me. I mean, I look for more. I push to
It
get more.
intrigues you.
It does. It really does. But so I've noticed around here in certain areas, that's why I call them watchers, because they do sounds, they mimic sounds, but they do sounds to notify others of your presence. And I don't know if people have noticed that in the mountains or anything like that, but so one of my examples is I've been on Mount St. Helens and had a visual there as well. And earlier that evening, I had verbal notifications. So it's like they were notifying others that we were there.
What kind of verbal?
This particular one sounded like I don't know, it was weird. It was like a whistle, but it was like more like a bird whistle. You know what I mean? And birds aren't out at 3 in the morning.
Right.
Usually they're sleeping. But I actually stepped out of the tent because I had to go to the bathroom at about 3 in the morning, 3:30. And I always just tucked my flashlight under my arm just so I could see where I was walking to. And there was a tree to my left, and far across this little open area, this open field, which maybe was about an acre and a half of high grass. The grass might have been about 1.5 feet tall, but on the other side of this grass was a row of trees to the hill of the mountains on the backside. And one ran across the edge of the trees as I was standing there peeing. And I've always been careful about what I do, but like I said, I have no fear. So here I am on Mount St. Helens, and I'm literally 100 yards from one of the main washouts from the lava. So there's nobody there except for me and my friend. He's sleeping in the tent, and I see this thing run across the edge of the trees. And next thing I know, I'm about 150, 200 yards away from the tent because I followed it. And I stopped, and I'm like, okay, here I am by myself in unknown territory that's not mine. I didn't freak out, but I thought, well, I better just mind my P's and Q's and just casually walk back like I'm not, paying attention to anything. And I did. I just kicked some dirt around and kind of whistled a little bit and acted like I was just enjoying life and walked. And finally, I got back to the tent and I was like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. But then at about 6 in the morning, maybe between 6 and 7, he was still sleeping. And I know I was sleeping because I didn't sleep well at night. I don't sleep well anyway, but there was a tree right next to our tent. And it was the loudest knock I have ever heard. It had to happen right next to me on that tree. And I jumped and woke up.
All right, we're gonna stop you right there because we need to go to our commercial break, and we'll come back from there and pick it right back up where you left off. It
Okay.
was so remember that spot, and we'll stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Right back.
Yay!
I heard this
All right.
song. Bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. Got in our head.
She's in her head.
I'm in my head.
Head.
Oh no.
So have any of you ever seen one?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
We've all seen one.
Yeah.
More than one. Multiples.
Far away
And
or
in
close?
different ways.
In the I saw one out in the open in the daylight. We were 1,200 feet away, and I got 600 feet away before it disappeared.
Ah,
I
Mhm.
saw one probably about 20 feet away walking in broad daylight. I was on a path going this way, and it was on the path coming this way, and I saw it through the trees.
nice.
Yeah.
You know what's weird is
I've weird. What?
everybody always says at night, but I've seen more during the day than I have at night.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have two now,
But
haven't
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I think
But I think
they can't hide as well during the day from
It-
us, at
that's
I
least.
don't think they
just
try
what I
to
was
hide
trying
from
to
us.
say.
I don't
Yeah,
think they're
I
just night dwellers. I think they're out all day. It's
I
just
don't think they try to hide from us at all.
it's a matter of who's outside.
Yeah. You bet. Fun stuff.
You bet.
You
Yeah.
betcha.
Yes.
So next show, I'm going to be ready. I told you guys I was going to be ready for this show, but it didn't happen. So I have a week to get ready, guys.
Okay.
Get ready for what?
The
The
next show.
show. Every time I get ready, I come on like 2 seconds before I'm supposed to come on, and then I'm hot and I'm sweaty, and I'm like, dang it.
I'm hot too.
You're always hot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I guess you didn't say that to me, so whatever. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
my
Well, now I
goodness.
did.
I
It
know.
seemed like it was just a gratuitous compliment.
And welcome
Oh,
back to the show, everyone. This is Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at shesquatchers.com, and you can click on our events page and see where we're going to be at. Maybe you can come out and see us. And if you're an event organizer and you'd like to have us come out, contact us at shesquatchers@yahoo.com and let us know. Or get a hold of me on Facebook. Facebook. We're on Facebook and Instagram at She Squatchers Official.
I'm sorry.
What was that?
I loved what you just did.
All right. Well, and we're on YouTube. So please come like and follow our channel. Click for the notifications so you can see when we upload a new video. We've got lots there for everybody to see. Go check it out. She Squatchers Official on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know where else, but we're there. Just come find us. All right. So
Please.
back to the show. Philip left us at a cliffhanger. Please bring us back. Tell us what you were saying.
So when I had that knock, it was like literally right next to my head, and it took me out of a dead sleep. And I swear to God, I must have jumped a foot in the air off my air mattress. And I literally swung my feet around as fast as I could, put my shoes on, unzipped the door, and by the time I got outside, it was gone. All I could hear was like a freight train going up the hillside, going through the
See,
trees and stuff.
what do you think about that? Because this is the question here. Some people say they move like so stealth, and other people say I heard them trample through. What do you think about that?
I think it's just a matter of what they're doing, because when they're like paralleling you as you're walking on trails, you don't know they're there. You have
Mhm.
no idea. And I've had groups out in some of the areas here, and I told these people, I swear to God, I could reach out and touch it because it's right here. And they're like, there's nothing there. I said, but you aren't used to hearing things like I hear. So what I'm
Mhm.
hearing is not natural, and it's walking as we walk. And when we stop, it stops. But then there's
But
other times,
sometimes they take one more step.
yes, sometimes they
Then
do.
then they throw off, then you can hear them. That happened to us.
Yes. So in that particular instance, we were down in another location, and it was paralleling. and it must have thought that we were just going to walk without stopping. And I came to a screeching halt. And that's when there was a snap, maybe about 20 feet into the woods. And my buddy's like, "Oh, is that?" I said, "Oh, it's got to be. What else can step that hard on something and snap it other than us?" I said, "We have the weight to do that." I said, "If it's a deer, if it's a dog, not going to happen. If it's a bear, and bears really aren't around here, so, and a bear is usually pretty quiet too if it wants to be. But yeah, it we caught it off. What am I trying to say? We caught it off guard, and that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times where I think I've kind of made them mad.
Why?
Well, I like to throw them off guard. I mean, I'll do the same thing over and over and over again for a few weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden I do something different, and it throws them off. Like, wait a minute, he's not doing what he's normally doing, and it upsets him. And the one particular incident I had, there's a female in the one location. She threw a rock at us.
Mm.
And
Why do you say it's female?
Oh, you clearly see it as a female. And
Okay.
I'll explain. So but I'm telling you, my ears are always on alert, and I could hear as she threw it where it came from, and I pulled out my little light, and once that hit the ground, thunk, my light was right where it came from, and there she was. She was maybe 40 yards back,
Wow.
just standing there facing us. And she had yellow eyes, not red. Her eyes were yellow, like as yellow could be. And within 2 minutes, she backed up and ran up the hill, which would have been farther down the trail, kind of in the same direction where we saw that one by that bent limb. But she ran up the hill, not down. And then there was two others, because I knew we had three of them watching. So there was one in front, and then one behind her, one to her right and left, and both of those shot across the upper ridge in her same direction. And they weren't trying to be quiet whatsoever. And it's like they knew I knew, so they bolted. But I saw her standing there, and you could clearly see it was a female.
Now, quick question. Are you seeing these, the Bigfoot in like the same area? Are you going to the same, like frequenting the same areas, or are these different locations that you're seeing them?
So I have 3 areas that I go to on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And in all 3 areas I've seen and continue to see.
And when are we going, girls? When are we going?
Let's go. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yep, there's 3 locations. There's 3 of us.
Right.
Sticking together.
Well, I'm sorry, I forgot to take you with us. Sorry.
And the best part about it is, so if you take a full night and it's not happening here, you go here. If it's not happening there, then you go over here. And one of those
Right.
3 locations, something's happening.
So they're
Yeah.
fairly close to each other.
And usually when I have people, so my 10 acres here, I have my own private campground. And a lot of times we don't even got to leave there, and stuff's happening there. Like
Nice.
4
What
o'clock
I'm hearing is
this
the
morning.
3 of us should do solo hikes, one in each location.
Yes, that's what I mean.
How do you feel
Just
about
saying.
that?
That might be interesting because out of 2 of the 3 locations, they get a little rowdy.
With women though,
Oh,
or just with you?
with not with me, with other people.
Have you had women out there yet?
Oh yeah, yep.
And they
Alone?
got a little.
They get a little more aggravated with people that they don't understand or know. You know what I mean? I'm out there so much, I think they're just used to me. And like my area out here, where I'm at right now, I'm familiar with this area since 1979. So I have a
Beautiful.
feeling they've been watching me for many, many years before I actually saw them. so they know who I am. And then same thing with the Swiss Valley. That's where I got my first horse when I was 5. So I'm telling
Oh,
you, I'm
I
very
love horses.
familiar with that area. So them seeing me there, I know they get, I don't know how old they get or when they die, but I know they're familiar with seeing me. So there's 2 areas that they're very familiar with me.
Yeah,
So
that sounds really awesome.
one of the areas is obviously your property, right?
Yes, and I just heard a real low guttural grunt.
It's because they want us to come out there. See?
Hey, Bigfoot.
Come
Hi.
on, come on the show.
Come on up.
We'll
So
hook up. Is that what you said,
what's
Tammy?
crazy is the bugs behind my place.
Predators.
Well, you can tell when something's there because in one area the bugs are going off, in the other area they're real quiet. And like
Oh.
4 o'clock this morning, up to that point, there were bugs out because I don't sleep well, so I'll step out 3-4 times in the night. And 3 of the times I stepped out, bugs were just going crazy. You could hear the cicadas, you could hear everything, crickets, frogs, you could hear everything going off. I stepped out at 4 in the morning, dead silent. And within a matter of
Ooh.
seconds, there was a branch break.
Mm.
Which, I kind of expected that, but we just had a big storm and it really changed things up. So I'm thinking they're kind of not happy with trees getting blown over, but that wasn't my fault.
Wait, where are you at?
And I'm in eastern Iowa.
Oh, okay.
Not that far
Oh, I
away.
was just curious. I know.
You're
Thinking,
like
boy.
you're like 8 hours from me.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
I know. I could be there tomorrow.
And I'm a flight away. I'm a flight away. I need to make a song about that. I'm a flight away. Don't take it. That's to everybody else. Us 4 can write it.
See, and you know what's crazy is watching all these shows and just hearing other people talk. It's crazy how many people go to the mountains or go here and go there. I'm a firm believer that they focus on watching us, so you have more chance of having interactions with them on the outside of cities than you do in the mountains. My dog I turned her to track them and she's kind of hearing something. So
What kind of a dog?
she's a mountain cur.
I don't know what that is, but
She's about the size of a lab, but her breed is to hunt bear and mountain lion.
ooh.
And at a young age, I took her out and I introduced her to the tracks as I found them, and we would follow them. And now she knows how to track.
What a smart dog. Good for you.
She's awesome.
Oh, you're a good boy too. Yes, you are. Sorry, my mom's dog is in here. I swear he knows English.
He's really good at humping her arm.
Oh my gosh! I must be going through the change. He attacks he grabs on my shoulder. I'm like, knock it up. I had to get seriously angry at him. I said, stop it in this low, mean tone. And he looked at me and he walked away. And I thought, see, I'm definitely an alpha. I'm the alpha here in this house.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
No,
Squirrel.
I really do believe that they like to hang around cities on the outskirts because they get to see things. So our ski slope here, a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers go skiing when it's open. So you're talking hormones for one.
Oh yeah.
All the scents from the colognes and perfumes for 2.
Oh yeah.
And in the surrounding area, there's been structures found that literally
What kind of structures?
like they're TP structures.
Mm.
In the surrounding areas that if you're in there, you can see the ski slope. And people ask me, well, why would they put one here? Well, so they can watch. And I said, I don't know if they're like monkeys, but I said, I know I've been asked escorted out of the monkey area in a zoo because of what they like to do on their own time.
Oh, we've heard stories.
Well, so I don't know if these things are kind of in the same aspect as that when they're turned on by the smells of things, but it's just weird how they really watch. I mean, they really truly watch. So these things all go through my head of what I know and what I can try to relate to things.
And see, that was
Mm.
so I got to tell you a little bit of a story, Philip. I really want your opinion. So we were going out to a location that we'd found up in Minnesota that was we found structures and it was very active up there. And I stopped the car and got out and emptied my bladder pretty far away from there on purpose so that I wasn't, emptying my bladder on their territory because I was
Sure,
scared of
sure.
telling them I'm marking this my turf. I didn't want to be like that. So I'm like, Jenna, do you have to go? No. So we drive all the way up.
This story, Jen.
And then she decides it's time. And I'm like, Jenna, no. She's like, why
I'm already
not?
going. I'm already going. I'm like on the side in the, everybody does it.
So do you
And Jen
think
just did it.
really far away? So do you,
Yeah,
I'm
but
asking,
maybe they liked it.
they probably did.
I
I
know.
didn't I didn't do the full moon, you did. So
I did.
anyway, my question for Philip is, in all seriousness, do you think that they would consider that marking their territory, or would that be like come and get some, or what do you think?
I think as far as marking the territory, it's a male thing. If females go, I think they have a very keen sense of smell of when a woman is
Rut
like
is happening.
when and they know, you know what I mean, the female thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they can also tell that it's not a male's urine.
Yeah.
Mm.
Here years ago, both my boys and four of their friends, which were girls, were out here, were camping, and we walked down to the pond out back, and two of the girls had to pee. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I don't ever think of it as marking, but now what's crazy is we got down to the pond and we're sitting on the dock, and from up behind us, literally the direction, and almost it sounded like the location from where those girls peed. I don't know if you've ever heard their scream, but it sounds like a woman getting murdered when they scream. And it's just the eeriest thing you've ever heard. And it's not like a woman screaming, it's like a long, 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 long scream. And it happened twice and literally over a minute each time. I mean, literally back to back. And my one son said, Dad, are we safe here? I said, well, we're on the dock. I would think so. He takes a deep breath. He's like, okay, I think we're sleeping here tonight. I said, no, we're not. But what's crazy is here we had three of them watching us. Now I'm
How did you
thinking
know?
because we could hear on each, because where this pond is, you're surrounded by hills. And
Oh.
we could hear on each hill where we can't walk. It's almost impossible. You could hear movement. And once that scream came, all three of them left. And I'm thinking because those girls peed, it attracted them.
Mm.
Oh.
I don't think as far as a female goes, it's a marking of territory. I think it's more of a excitement thing.
See, Jen, I just gave him a little thrill. That's all.
Or you're
Okay.
brought all the Bigfoot to the yard.
Yeah. Tammy, that was the best. That should be a meme. Somebody has to make a meme out of that.
There you go. So my follow-up question to that would be, do you think then they can tell which female it came from?
Oh, good question. Probably.
Actually, I do feel they can. I really do. because I know as clean as everybody likes to say they are, you still have that scent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know they can tell. I just feel like I've been in situations where women are actually scared to go to the bathroom because of that.
Oh, really?
And they'll pee in buckets because they're afraid to pee on the ground. And
The great thing, and this is really, I have to tell you this, as a woman, after you hit a certain age, it's awesome because you don't have to worry about all those hormones. I'm just saying, take out the older women out to the woods.
right.
Do you think they can tell that? And does it matter if, like, say a woman has a hysterectomy versus a woman
Oh,
who
yeah.
doesn't? Do you think that they can tell or that they would care?
I don't think they would care, but I still think they can relate it to who it is,
Okay.
and that it's a female.
Because
So they're just smelling this.
these girls keep saying that I have all my parts, so Bigfoot would want me, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
think they're gonna care.
I really don't think. To be honest,
We're
I don't think it would care. I mean, if it really wanted to,
Yeah.
it would pick that scent out and just go with it, and it would know.
All right, Jenna, you just keep marking the territory and
I
advertising.
am so much faster than you, Jen.
So I'll tell you,
Run.
one night I was coming home from a long day at work when I lived up in Minnesota years ago,
Oh,
and I
you
had
lived
a
in
stretch
Minnesota.
between Montgomery, Minnesota, and Waterville, Minnesota, where there was just all highway, and I had to pee so bad. Must have been around 10:30 at night. So I pulled over on the side of the road. I could clearly see there's no cars coming, so I just pulled over, walked around to my passenger side, and I peed. Now, when I pulled over, I have to say that if there was something on the side of the road, I would have noticed it. But as I was peeing and I turned around, all of a sudden there's something giant, like almost like a stump sitting on the edge of the road, like maybe 15 yards behind where I was stopped.
Oh.
I thought, are you kidding me? So I walked a long way around my van to get back in, not around the front. I walked around the back to actually look at this thing, and I saw head movement. And I think it just happened to be there as I pulled over, so it wanted to stop and see. But I peed. And as I pulled away, I just looked in back. I kind of kept my foot to have the brake light lit up. As I pulled away, it stood up and was heading to where I was pulled over.
Really?
So I was thinking that was going to smell
Or to cover your scent to mark it
or to
with its
cover
own.
my scent. Now
Yeah.
here's another
Yeah.
thing. So on a trail downward, just farther, actually quite a bit farther up, maybe about 5 or 6 miles west of where we actually saw the one by the tree. This was probably 12, 13 years ago. I happened to look up and I saw a cave. This was in the fall. I saw a cave up off the trail. So I walked up there and I have pictures of a footprint that was literally sunk in maybe about 2.5, 3 inches where it stepped. This was a huge print, 18.5, 19 inches long, every bit of 9, 10 inches wide at the toes. Just massive.
Do you have a picture?
I do have pictures. I didn't have any casting, but I have pictures. Now I stepped next to it. I didn't even make a dent. Didn't even hardly leave a print. So whatever stood there had to be massive. Now I didn't take pictures of inside that cave, but I remember you could see where something was laying down. And in the far back corner, there were actually stacks of rocks in there, 3 or 4 stacks of rocks. How they like to stack rocks. So, to me, it was thinking that maybe it's a place that it sits and watches at night, because there are people that illegally go down this trail at night because you're not supposed to go
Oh, yeah.
past night, and it may sit up in there and watch. Now, the crazy thing was, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna pee right here, just to see. And I did. And I went back 3 days later, and that footprint was all like mashed in, like it stomped it out. And then there was
Wait. Did you go to
two.
the bathroom on the footprint?
No, I went right outside
Oh.
at a tree.
Sorry.
And then there were actually two full trees leaned up. One was over the entrance, and the other one was off to the side, which was crazy.
Wow.
So I think it kind of made it mad that I did that. And that's where I feel that it's a male thing, not a female thing.
Well, good. Ha 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 ha.
I think as far as
Just
the female
saying,
thing, I'd be more worried about them getting excited.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can't help it. I go where I can.
she always says that. I can't help it.
I can't help it.
But you know,
I am what I
you
am.
also got to realize that let's say 90% of the population has no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So even when like men and women go out just screwing around in the middle of the night in the woods, or like even here I've seen them screwing around. They'll squat and pee wherever because they don't care.
Right.
They have no idea. So I really feel if you're in a position like here where you're on the outskirts of a city, I think they're more, what do you call that?
They're drawn to the outside.
Well, you're safer because if they do something, they're going to get noticed. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They're smart.
I-
They know
They're
better.
they're more habituated here.
But I thought they were starting to come into towns, closer into towns, because of the excess garbage and food. I mean, other animals aren't they?
They are. I think something's going on through nature that they're moving, because things are truly changing. Storms are getting worse. We got these massive forest fires now in Canada, out west all the time. Things are changing, and I think they're moving, and they're moving to where they feel safe. And the Midwest is a safe place. It's not like living out in California or Washington. You don't have forest fires. You don't have crazy things happening out there. I mean, you do have droughts here, but I mean, there's water, there's rivers, there's creeks, there's places for them to stay. So I think they're realizing that it might be safer going somewhere, and here you also got to realize that even the farmers or people that have chickens, a lot of chickens disappear here. I've asked people, and they have chickens that disappear. They keep blaming it on a fox or a wolf, but there's nothing in the cage that indicates anything broke in like that to steal the chickens.
That gives me an idea.
But even cattle, I mean, there's been cattle that have become hogs, baby hogs come up missing. And just the wildlife in general, just here. I mean, you got rabbits, squirrels. I saw a raccoon skinned at one time, just the skin laying there on the ground.
Weird.
And with that, I have to say we are coming towards the end of the show, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to let our listeners know how to reach you. If you want to be reached, you can tell them how.
I guess what's a good way to
Facebook?
Facebook Facebook. I think my picture on, well, no, I think I might have changed it. Might not have a hat, maybe sunglasses, no hat this time with my white beard under Phillip Neal.
Okay.
And through Messenger, if people want to ask questions, I have lots of stories.
And then, of course, you can always put questions in the comment section of our YouTube channel, too. And, if there's something pertinent, we could ask them to check it out as well. And I'm hoping, Phillip, that you will come back on the show another time and share more with us, because you were
Absolutely.
awesome.
And if you guys come here, that'd be awesome. I'd be able to show you many things.
All right. I'll see you in the morning. I'm just kidding. I can't come tomorrow, but I'm that close. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you next week right here Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Woohoo! Sweet dreams.
Ah.